Well, good evening. And I want to welcome you on behalf of the chairman of our General Assembly, the Reverend Vasco Perry, to our Family Life Enrichment series. This series goes from tonight all the way to the Wednesday night just before Father's Day. So all the Wednesdays between Mother's Day and Father's Day, we are going to be focusing on the family. And so I want to thank you for joining us. Those of you who have joined us already, I know there are some folks who are still going to be coming in on YouTube, but I want to thank you for coming in and for participating in our Family Life Enrichment series. You are not going to be disappointed. There's going to be something for the entire family in this particular series. And beginning tonight, I know that this session is a session that everybody in the family will enjoy and will have some really interesting takeaways from our session. So I just want to encourage you to stay with us throughout the Family Life Enrichment series. Tonight, we are beginning with a very interesting topic, and I want you to be part of it and to ensure that, by the time we are done, that you have learned something, that you have changed something, that you've improved something for better or for worse. I believe that we can add for richer or poor, and also in sickness and in health, because we're looking at nutrition the Caribbean way. So I just want to share with you a couple of things before we actually get started and before I introduce to you our guest speaker for this evening. All right. So I want to remind you that because you are joining us on YouTube, it is important that if you have questions, that you type those questions in the chat. We are going to compile those questions, and we are going to ensure that if there are questions that you have, that those questions are addressed by our guest speaker. So please remember to type your questions in the chat, and we will relay those questions to our guest speaker this evening. So our guest speaker is MARRIANNE Burnham. MARRIANNE is a community nutrition officer with the Ministry of Health and Wellness. She is a part-time tutor of the Barbados Community College. MARRIANNE completed her studies at Acadia University in Canada, and she is currently pursuing a master's degree at the University of Technology in Jamaica. Very well informed, and I know that she has a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of information to share with you. MARRIANNE, we are so excited to have you lead the charge in our Family Life Enrichment series. So welcome. And I know that we are going to have some really, really good takeaways from our session tonight. So welcome, MARRIANNE.
Thank you very much, Pastor Lennox. It's a pleasure to be here with my Church of God family and beyond. It's a pleasure to share my information. All right, so we'll get started. Let me just share my slides. And we're going to be talking tonight about nutrition the Caribbean way. I was asked to share this particular information, so I hope I've brought the correct information for you. Whatever you need to know, I'm open to any questions. You can ask questions at intervals. I will stop along the way, or just put your questions in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them by the end of the presentation. So we're going to look at nutrition the Caribbean way, and we're going to look at the nutrients. We're going to look at the Caribbean food groups. We're going to speak briefly about planning healthy meals. We're going to look at portion sizes because, we Caribbean people like enough food. We're going to look at drinks and sugar, and then we'll have a question and answer segment. So in terms of the nutrients, we're starting from the bottom right now. We're going to talk about nutrients, which is a substance that provides nourishment essential for growth, health, and the maintenance of life. So nutrition is key. And having nutrients are key to our survival. Not everything we eat is nutritious. Everything we eat should be nutritious. It should be nutritious, but not everything we eat has in nutrients. Not everything we eat provides our body with any type of nutrition. All right. So we're going to look at, our nutrients tend to be our carbohydrates, our fats, our proteins, our vitamins, and our minerals and water. And the first one we're going to look at are the carbohydrates, which are our body's preferred source of energy. Carbohydrates tend to make up our main meals when the days come. Carbohydrates include our bread, rice, pasta, sweet potato, yam, cassava. Carbohydrates includes all the fruits, because fruits have a natural sugar, and carbohydrates, break down to simple sugars. So it includes the fruits and the fruit juices, and milk as well. Milk, of course, is lots of protein, but milk has in something called lactose, which is a carbohydrate, which is a sugar, not sweet, but is a sugar. So the carbohydrates are the body's preferred source of energy. They include sugar, starch, and fiber. And the sugar and starch tend to supply energy, right? And fiber has other benefits, which you will learn about. And most carbohydrate foods also contain other nutrients. So the carbs are our main foods. So when you often look at our Caribbean meal, we have lots of carbs. Rice, for example, is one of our main sources of carbohydrates. So we have protein. Remember, we're talking about the basic nutrients that we find in foods, and these basic nutrients comprise a lot of our body systems. So protein, every cell in the body is built with protein. It is needed to repair and build muscles and red blood cells. Protein is used for energy sometimes if we don't provide adequate carbohydrate, which usually our body takes energy from. And a healthy diet can easily provide protein. So our protein is our fish, our chicken, all of our meats, all of our cheese, our milk. Those are protein. Our proteins also include our vegetable protein sources. So the nuts, the seeds, the peas, the beans, the lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, all of those are protein sources. So we definitely need protein. If we eat lots of carbs, like if we eat our biscuit and our bread and our rice and things like that, without any cheese, without any peanut butter, without any chicken, without any fish, our bodies will going to stay, we're not gonna have nice hair, skin, and nails, we're not gonna have good muscle tone, etc., because we're not providing our body with proteins, which are the body's building blocks. We don't want to get we don't want to eat such little carb that our body gets energy, has to rely on the proteins for energy, because if we're not providing enough carbohydrates to our body and our body has to rely on protein for energy, we will suffer. Fat is a concentrated source of energy, but it's also a source of vitamins and essential fatty acids. And our fats include nuts naturally having fat. Oil is all fat, not the unhealthy fat, because oils are liquid at room temperature. So oils are healthy fats. We have avocado. People might think, often say we eat lots of pear, we eat lots of avocado, and it gets us fat. Well, avocado is very nutritious, but it's very, very high in fat. So that's why we encourage to eat a slice versus a whole avocado when we eat our plate of food. The fat that's naturally found in sardines and mackerel and tuna, all of that is a lot of unsaturated fat, and that's the healthy fat. And we have fats in margarines, seeds, there's fats from different sources. The healthier fats are what we are focusing on. We do have the vitamins, which are nutrients the body needs to function and fight disease. We always think about, vitamins and minerals, and it is easy to get vitamins and minerals from a tablet. We can always go and take some B-complex, which has in whatever nutrients we need, but it's essential to get these nutrients from food. So vitamins are nutrients the body needs to function and fight disease. The body cannot produce vitamins, so they must get them from food. Yes, you can supply them from the little bottle of tablets or liquids, but you should be eating all of your different foods to get the particular vitamins and minerals your body needs. There are two classes of vitamins. There's the water-soluble vitamins, meaning that they dissolve in water. So those are like the B complex and vitamin C's. Vitamin C that we find in oranges and cherries, and B complex, which we will find in meats and we will find in rice, etc. And we have our fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, meaning that they dissolve in fat. Because these dissolve in fat and we tend to have fat in our bodies would store these vitamins. So we won't run out of vitamins A, D, E, and K so quickly. But because the water soluble vitamins, B complex, and vitamin C, because they are water soluble, we would lose them quickly. So we need to be putting in these nutrients every single day, right? So specific vitamins that we need, especially in the care of the elderly, because I do expect that a lot of this crowd might be mature persons. I'm not in that mature numbers yet, but mature persons still need a lot of folate, which is folic acid, and vitamin B12, which helps to prevent anemia. B12 is something that tends to decline as we get older. As the acid in our stomach drops, we aren't able to access the B12 coming from the food so much. So oftentimes a B12 supplement is recommended, but vitamin B12 is only found naturally in animal foods. Strict vegetarians may sometimes need supplement of the vitamin B12, right? So we need to pay attention to the folate and the vitamin B12, but the folate has a lot of sources. It's found, you can find it in the bananas, you can find it in spinach, you can find it in corn. So there are different sources of folate in our diet. Vitamin C tends to boost the immune system. It aids in wound healing, and it enhances the absorption of iron. Oftentimes, a lot of older people sometimes develop wounds for whatever reason, and they need assistance in healing the wounds. Oftentimes, they have to take a vitamin C supplement, which helps your body to heal the wounds, right? And if you eat your fruits, your cherries, if you eat your oranges, if you eat your tangerines, if you eat your spinach, etc., you'll get sufficient vitamin C. Vitamin D tends to be the sunshine vitamin, because when we stand in the sun and the sun hits on our skin, our body produces vitamin D, but we tend not to be deficient in vitamin D at all in this region. But we are finding that boosting our intake of vitamin D helps tremendously in just keeping our immune systems healthy and fighting off issues like COVID and other conditions that affect our body. So the vitamin D supplement might not hurt you, because we're dealing with some major conditions, some major diseases that we want to fight. And we can find our vitamin D in eggs. I eat eggs every day. And you can find them in fish, like mackerel and sardines and stuff like that. Vitamin K is essential for normal blood clotting, and patients taking blood thinners may need to limit foods high in vitamin K, such as kale, spinach, and broccoli. But half of you here aren't on blood thinners, so you want to eat your green vegetables at liberty and consume your vitamin K. You have your minerals, which are compounds needed by the body to regulate chemical reactions and maintain your structure and help to stay healthy. So, for example, calcium is a major mineral, and calcium is a major mineral that is part of our bones. So that helps to maintain the structure. Your body cannot produce minerals, so you must get them from food. So there are two classes of minerals. We have the minerals that are needed in larger amounts in our diets, and the minerals that are needed in smaller amounts. So our major minerals are like sodium, potassium, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and there are more minerals. And your trace minerals, which are needed in smaller amounts, are iron, zinc, iodine, and other trace minerals. The minerals, whether needed in large amounts or small amounts, these are essential. So we need to provide our bodies with these types of foods. And we, if we eat a variety of foods, we can get enough vitamins, we can get enough minerals. If we make sure that we eat our fruits and vegetables, we get enough minerals, we get enough vitamins, right? Sodium and potassium are two minerals that are very important to our more mature population. They help to regulate a fluid balance in the body, how the fluids run in your body. And blood pressure is associated with how the fluids run in your body and how much sodium you consume and how much potassium you consume, right? So when we have excess sodium in our blood, because sodium is a mineral, remember sodium comes from salt, it can cause high blood pressure. So we always have to be mindful of how much sodium we are consuming. It's very easy for us to get adequate amounts of potassium to keep the sodium at bay. So when we drink the coconut water and when we eat the oranges, we provide our body with adequate potassium, which helps to keep the sodium in check, which helps to keep our blood pressure in check, right? So calcium is another important mineral and is essential for strong bones and teeth. It also helps to regulate blood pressure and prevent muscle cramps. So we must be getting our calcium. You can get your calcium from your from your dairy sources, your milk, cheese, and yogurt. You can get your calcium from your broccoli and your kale and your okras. Those are sources of calcium. You get your calcium from your nuts and seeds, and you also get calcium from fish. So it's not, when we hear calcium, we usually think milk, but there are other sources of calcium that we can access in our diets and make sure our body gets enough. So are you having your fish? Are you having your nuts? Are greens a part of your diet? Iron is needed to produce healthy red blood cells and prevent anemia, and when we consume vitamin C helps our body absorb iron. So if we are having, I don't know, a piece of chicken, a piece of fish, a piece of steak, and we decide to have it with a little cherry juice on the side, or we decide to take a vitamin C tablet while eating this meal, it helps our body better absorb the iron, especially when we are going for vegetable sources of iron. Like if we are knocking on the door of spinach or kale or broccoli to get some iron in our diets, it's best to consume it with a vitamin C source to assist our body in absorbing the iron. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate, but not strictly speaking a nutrient, since the body cannot digest it. However, fiber has many benefits. Fiber is thought to be like there are 6 essential nutrients. Fiber is thought to be the 7th essential nutrient because, yes, we don't get any energy from it, but our systems don't function well when we don't have enough fiber. So fiber is a substance that helps us to go to the bathroom, the roughage, because it helps to prevent constipation and also prevent colorectal cancer, because stuff is going to be moving through our gut and it's not going to stay there. It's not going to stay in our large colon because the fiber helps to get it out. Fiber helps to lower cholesterol and blood pressure. So when we eat the fiber in the different foods, right? When we eat the roughage, like let's say when we eat oats, help to absorb some of the cholesterol. Cholesterol is that extra fat that tends to build up in our arteries and stop the blood from flowing freely. The oats help to reduce some of that cholesterol and helps it to go out. Fiber helps to lower our blood pressure by whatever mechanism. Fiber helps to lower our blood pressure. It improves blood sugar control and diabetes. So classic example, when we eat rice breaks down to sugar. And our typical white rice that we Bajans love to eat off really pushes up our blood sugars, right? So we have so rice produces a very high rise in blood sugars. Those with diabetes would understand what I'm saying. Those without diabetes, the rice still pushing up your blood sugar when the day comes. When we add some fiber now to that rice dish, and let's say we add peas to it, not the peas that you could look in the rice and count. When you add a good set of peas to your rice, it helps to reduce the amount of sugar that the rice produces. So fiber improves blood sugar control and diabetes. So when you eat lots of high fiber foods, when you eat your brown rice, when you add your peas to your diet, when you having pumpkin with the skin on it, when you're eating broccoli, when you're having oats, barley, linseed, when you're eating sweet potato, yam, cassava, all of those different sources of fiber, you have better blood sugar control. And fiber also assists with weight loss, because if you eat a meal and the meal has in lots of fiber, your blood sugar is better controlled. So therefore your body doesn't get hungry as quickly. Think about when you eat that very large meal that, well, a lot of us eat on Sunday. So you got the rice, you got the pie, you might got some potato salad and other little foods on the plate, which, provide lots of carbohydrates. When we eat the big food on Sundays, it causes a surge in our blood sugars, and we got to go and lay down and sleep. And when we get up from sleeping, we feel to eat again. Like, I feel to eat again. Are you feeling for something sweet? That is because the food you ate did not have a lot of fiber. Your blood sugars went up, spiked, and came right back down. But if you ate a meal which had an adequate amount of fiber, your blood sugars would have gone up, but they would have been level for a few hours, and then they would have dropped instead of spiking and dropping immediately back down. So fiber helps us to manage our blood sugars, our weight, our cholesterol, our blood pressures, helps us to go to the bathroom. So usually, I ask people, did you go to the bathroom today? We don't all have the same bathroom habits, but sometimes people go every 2 and 3 days, sometimes once a week. So you got to ask yourself, did I eat enough fiber today? Was your day full of white bread, white rice, and white biscuit? in the evening. So if you realize, and did you consume any fruits? Did you consume any vegetables? So if you didn't consume any fruits or any vegetables, you had English potato, you had white rice, you had white bread, you had white biscuit in a day, and you didn't go to the bathroom properly, or you didn't go to the bathroom at all, you got to ask yourself, did I consume enough fiber? And when you have fiber as well, you have to make sure you consume enough water, because fiber is going to swell out and get thick, and as it scrapes the inside of your intestines and everything, it needs some water to help it soften and go out. All right. So the food sources of fiber, again, whole wheat bread and biscuits, flour and pasta. So, you could go for the bran loaf or the whole wheat loaf. You could go for the brown rice, the oats, barley, and bran cereals. Linseed is an excellent source of fiber and nutrition. So you could buy the ground linseed and sprinkle it over your cereals, or you might not like the linseed boiled up, but you can still pour it in your finished oats on mornings. Ground provisions, of course, your sweet potato, yam, cassava, etc., are excellent sources of fiber. Your legumes and nuts, so your lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, all your peanuts and almond nuts, etc., excellent source of fiber. Very smart snack, good source of protein, good source of fiber as well. All your various vegetables and all your various fruits. So when you eat a mango, that inside and outside, when you eat the skin and when you eat the inside, those are excellent sources of fiber. So you really must have the fiber in your diet, people. All right.
Hi, Marianne. We have I'm really enjoying this presentation, by the way. We have a question from one of our guests. Cheryl Osborne is asking, is it okay to eat oats for breakfast every day, especially if you are on a calorie-controlled diet? Is it okay to eat oats for breakfast every day, especially if you are on a calorie-controlled diet?
Yes, it depends on the amount of oats. We know that oats can keep us full. Mind you, you can eat a big set of oats and you're full the whole day, but it depends on the amount of oats. And I always encourage people, if you're just going to have the oats in the morning, you have to make sure that you have your oats with a decent protein source. Some people just have oats and water. Oats is really carbohydrate, it's really fiber. It has in some protein, but not enough. So what is your protein source that's going with the oats? Are you having milk? Are you having almond milk? What is the protein source? So that's fine. You can have your oats. You make sure that you're not filling up too much on it, right? But if you're having your oats every morning, I just want to make sure that you're having it with a protein source. Is that milk? Is that a nut milk or almond milk or something like that? What protein source? If you're having your oats and water every morning, you're still missing a protein source. You got to figure out what's the protein that you're going to have along with your oats on mornings.
All right, Marianne, I have one more question. I know that you introduced mangoes as a good source of fiber, but I know that when it's mango season, that sometimes persons replace a meal with mangoes because they're so plentiful, the trees are so big and produce so many that it becomes pretty difficult to just eat one mango per day or something like that. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little bit of advice? I'm not sure that I want to hear it, but Lord, I think it may be vital for us.
We are blessed to be from a country where we can just, eat mangoes at liberty, right? And mango is a good source of fiber. It has in vitamin A. It has it's a fruit. It's nutritious. It's healthy for us. But you know what we enjoy about mangoes? The sweetness. And we ain't just eating a little mango. We eating a mango or mangoes, plural. And a mango cannot replace a meal, peoples. Y'all kidding me now. A mango cannot replace a meal. A mango is a fruit. We eat fruits as snacks. We don't eat a fruit as a meal. So please don't get your head like, yeah, it's dinner tonight. I can eat them 4 mangoes and they're good. No, please. All right. Mango is a fruit. Yes, it has some vitamins, some minerals, and lots of fiber, but mango also has a lot of sugar. And we have to be mindful of the amount of sugar we consume. We are saying, yes, it is natural sugar, but your body recognizes sugar as sugar. So whether it's coming from a mango or your sugar bowl, your body recognizes sugar as sugar. So if you have a weight problem, if you are overweight, if you have high blood sugars or if you're diabetic or something like that, you have to watch how many mangoes you consume. You can't just say, look, again, eat these 3 mangoes and everything will be okay. No, it doesn't work like that. You still have to control the amount of mangoes. If you're eating 2 small mangoes, fine. If you're going to eat a 1 medium-sized mango, fine. But you cannot just sit and eat 2 and 3 and 4 mangoes the same time because you're messing with your body's blood sugars. Okay, so you might not be diabetic, but you still don't want to offset your blood sugars by overeating mango. So you still have to watch it, you know. So we might not be diabetic, but we might be overweight. We might be pre-diabetic, meaning that our blood sugars are elevated, but not high enough to be called blood sugars. And all who don't know they're pre-diabetic, y'all need to go and check, go and do the HbA1c test and see how your average blood sugars are, you know. So mangoes are not horrible. They're a lovely, tasty, juicy fruit, but we have to be mindful of how many mangoes we eat at one sitting because they put us in trouble. This is Barbados, people. We got diabetes and obesity to death. All right. So continuing now, water is the 6th remaining nutrient. So water is essential for life. Okay, about 60-70% of our body is made of water. And we need to provide our bodies with water. Water is the best hydration, but fluid such as tea, porridge, and soup count towards your water intake too. You know, coffee counts towards your water intake, but you know what? Coffee is like a mild diuretic. When you drink lots of coffee, or you're running to the bathroom every second or every few minutes or every hour or something like that to urinate. So when you dump in all that coffee, and for those people who drink coffee throughout the day, you're messing with your level of hydration. Are you drinking coffee throughout the day and are you urinating all of your fluid out? You know, are you passing water every 5 minutes because you're drinking a lot of coffee? If that is happening, you have to watch your hydration. Are you drinking enough liquids to replace what you're putting out, right? Some foods also contain some water, especially fruits and vegetables. So when we eat our cucumber, when we eat our watermelon, you know, that's water. When we drink our coconut water, that is water as well. So all of these things count towards our water intake. The average person doesn't have to worry about how much watermelon and other they don't have to worry about the other non-liquid water sources. But if you have kidney issues and you have to monitor the amount of liquids you eat, you now have to be concerned about the amount of water you drink, about the amount of fruit you eat, etc., because all of these things count towards your water intake. But water is essential for life, right? And water helps us to lose weight, because it helps to boost the metabolism. That's how our body uses fuel as energy. So water helps to boost the metabolism. It helps to promote healthy skin because we want to have dry, flaking skin if we are hydrating adequately. It helps to fight infection. It helps to get rid of body toxins because remember, our body, we're flushing. You know, people might not like to drink water, but if throughout the day you're seeing very dark urine, no, I can understand dark urine in the morning when you just got up because your body would have been digesting and would have been pelting out this and pelting out that. Give me the dark urine in the morning. But if you have dark urine throughout the day, your hydration might be off, right? It helps to keep your heart healthy. It helps to prevent joint pains and arthritis because it helps to lubricate your joints, everything like that. It helps to boost energy because metabolism produces energy and water boosts your metabolism. It helps to prevent the constipation if you're not going to the bathroom enough. Are you drinking enough water? Remember, I spoke about the fiber, but the fiber must have water. It helps to reduce the risk of cancer, especially colorectal cancer, because with the water and the fiber, everything is going out. You know, so think about all of for those of you who eat corned beef and hot dogs and nuggets and luncheon meat, especially let's say the luncheon meat and the corned beef and the hot dogs. Those are foods with lots of chemicals and additives. Those are not natural. We don't have a animal that produces a hot dog. You know, the hot dog is made in a factory. The corned beef is beef that has been salted and put through a process. The luncheon meat is mystery meat that people love, right? So if we're not drinking enough water, this food stays in our system longer. Remember, this food has a lot of salt and chemicals and additives. So when we don't drink enough water and we don't have enough fiber, these foods tend to stay in our system longer and have the opportunity to do damage and increase our risk of causing cancer and stuff like that. So you gotta be mindful of that. Water helps to improve productivity because if you have more energy, you're doing more, you produce more, right? So bear that in mind. So how much water should you drink? That's always an argument. The average you hear, people say you drink 8 cups of water a day, 8 cups of water per day plus whatever fluids, right? For men, at least 10 cups of water per day plus whatever fluids, right? So 8 cups, a cup is 8 ounces. Another formula is to take your body weight in pounds and divide that by 2, and whatever number you get, gives you the amount of the ounces of water to drink. And remember, 1 cup equals 8 ounces. So if you're 190 pounds and you divide by 2, you get out whatever amount of water is equal to about 11 cups of water, right? So 190, let me just do it. 190 divided by 2 equals 95, divided by 8 equals 11 cups of water. So if you're 190 pounds, you should be consuming about at least 11 to 12 cups of water. Yes, Lennox?
Yes, please. So I have 2 questions. One is it right to say that we get milk from things like almonds, cashews, and other nuts?
Well, milk for us is milk coming from cows, milk coming from goats, milk coming from animals. Milk is an animal source, right? Almonds and nuts, and they don't produce milk. It's really an almond drink or nut drink that we call milk. And I think the US now has officially accepted the term milk when you're referring to like a nut milk. It is called milk, but note that a cup of almond milk is not equivalent to a cup of cow's milk. The cow's milk naturally has protein, it naturally has fat, it has all this calcium, etc. If you have a cup of almond milk, it ain't gonna give you as much protein, it ain't gonna give you no fat. It's not going to be as excellent a source of calcium. It's going to be less calories, but in no way is almond milk or cashew milk or whatever equivalent to a cup of animal-based milk. It's not equivalent. So it's really a drink that we call a milk, but you won't get away nutritionally with the same benefits of drinking cow's milk as you would. You can't expect to get the same benefits as drinking cow's milk from almond milk. There are benefits to drinking the almond milk because it's lowering fat, lowering calories, better for heart health, etc. But there's certain times in our lives where we need that full fat milk or that full nutrition from milk. Think about your kids especially that are 3 years old or less. You wouldn't feed your child almond milk because you would be messing with their nutrition. You would feed the child full fat cow's milk or goat's milk or whatever. But the almond milk it can be used, but it's not equivalent. It's not equivalent to cow's milk. So there's a difference. What's the second question?
The second question is, does it matter whether the water we drink is room temperature or ice cold?
The bit of research I did, our bodies are warm. We're naturally warm, So when we drink a bunch of cold water, we could start to kind of cooling or overcooling our body systems. So you got to be careful with the amount of cold water you drink. Cold water does not make you fat, people. You can't put on a weight with water, but cold water does cool down the system. Think about when you drink your hot drink on mornings, you might belch, you might end up going to the bathroom to do a number 2 because that hot drink got everything going, etc. The cold water is not going to have that effect on you. I would recommend drinking cool water, not cold water. Room temperature water, as in room temperature. You know how warm Barbados is, so our room temperature water is going to be sort of kind of warm, or water that's just slightly chill, but not cold or ice water that we West Indian people like to drink because outside is so hot. I would not recommend you drink that.
Okay, just one more question, Marianne, before we move on. We have this question coming in. Do human beings have to consume animal milk?
No, we do not, we don't. You can get through very good without animal milk. I would say, okay, we're born and we breastfeed, etc. That is animal milk because we are animals, sort of, kind of. And then you might progress then to cow's milk up to a certain time. You do not have to be consuming animal milk for past 2 or 3 years old, past when food has been fully introduced into your diet as a young human, right? Once you have full food and you're eating various nutrients, you're not relying on the milk for that much nutrition. You're getting the nutrition from food, so you do not have to have milk throughout your lifetime. It's not a must. We can have it up to a certain age, and then you can cut off. And once you get in the nutrition from the food, you're good without the milk. Milk is not mandatory. We don't have to have it throughout our life. All right. So a balanced diet is one that provides all the nutrients in the right amounts, and we need to be consuming a balanced diet. Remember, we eat food, not the nutrients, we eat the food. So all of the nutrients that we found, the proteins and the carbs, the vitamins and minerals I highlighted are found in food. Because if we could just eat the nutrients, we could just be taking the pills and we could be getting through. We don't have to look for food, but the food has in the nutrients. We eat food, not the nutrients. So when we're planning meals, we want to plan meals using a variety of foods from the Caribbean food groups. And in these Caribbean food groups, we will get the 6 to 7 essential nutrients. We'll get the carbohydrate, the protein, the fat, the vitamins, the minerals, the water, and the fiber. All right. So we have our different Caribbean food groups, right? So we have staples, we have legumes and nuts, we have fats and oils, we have fruits, vegetables, and we have food from animals. Those are the Caribbean food groups. So our staples tend to include, our staples are our main foods. Our staples are our carbohydrate containing foods. So our staples are our rice, our pasta, our flour, our cornmeal, our breadfruit, our yam, cassava, sweet potato. Those are our staples, and those are the carbohydrate foods. So they provide whole grains, as in, they're not the grain is not a processed grain, it's a whole grain. And they provide some proteins as well, like cereal staples contain more protein. So oats is a staple, but oats does contain protein. Right? So there are different types of staples. There are different types of staples. Just one moment. There are different types of staples, but our staples make up our carbohydrates. Then we have our foods from animals, and foods from animals are just what they are, foods from animals. They're sources of protein. Meat, poultry, fish, eggs are all sources of protein, and they're all good sources of iron. We have milk and dairy, and fish with edible bones such as sardines are good sources of calcium. Many foods from animals contain saturated fat and cholesterol. Saturated fat and cholesterol is going to be only found in animal food. So we have saturated fat in our bodies, and we have cholesterol in our bodies. Our bodies naturally make cholesterol, and then we eat cholesterol from the food. So our meat, when we eat our chicken skin, all the fat we find in the beef and the lamb, all of that helps to make up the cholesterol, which is a form of saturated fat. Sources of our foods from animal also include our processed foods, like corned beef and luncheon meat and hot dogs, but they do not provide our body with as much nutrients as the other sources of natural protein. For example, 1 egg is 7 grams of protein, but a portion like 1 hot dog might be like 3 grams of protein. Not enough. Is not equivalent. So when we eat these processed meats with the added salt, added fat, etc., they might be better in terms of taste, but they're not providing our body with adequate amounts of nutrition. But the foods from animals include all of these things. Then we have our legumes, right? So the legumes are, the nuts and legumes. So the lentils, chickpeas, black beans, the almond nuts, the cashew nuts, etc., the dried peas and beans. So they're excellent sources of protein. This is a lot of vegetable protein that we need to be included. Sometimes we only eat our peas and rice, but peas can be, we can create a whole dish, as you all are well aware, from peas, making up a pea stew or a pea salad or whatever, and putting it as a decent side dish alongside our main carbohydrate foods. They're a good source of protein, right? So we don't always have to be eating the meat, the beef, and the lamb, etc. When we eat our chickpeas, when we eat our black beans, when we eat our kidney beans, they are excellent sources of protein. So we, and the thing about the peas and beans, they are less costly, right? Versus eating ham, chicken, fish, etc., which are totally expensive. We can include the peas and beans more often in our diets in the week, and we will realize that our food cost actually decreases, and our blood pressure, our cholesterol, and our blood sugar would decrease as well, because we're not having all of the animal sources. So these peas and beans are often good sources of iron as well, and good sources of calcium. The meats tend to be good sources of iron, but we can get iron from eating lentils, for example, right? The dried peas and beans are generally fat-free, so we ain't really got to worry about fat. Although the nuts and seeds contain fat, but they contain higher levels of the unsaturated fat, the fat that doesn't clog our arteries. So the nuts and seeds are good little snack foods, like, when you're looking for energy and stuff like that. Not to say you sit down and you watching TV and you eat a whole big bag of nuts. No, your little handful of nuts will do. That's it. That's your portion. And that's what you will smartly eat. But the dried peas and beans, we need to include more of these in our diet. The dried peas and beans are a good source of fiber. Therefore, they help us to go to the bathroom. They help to lower the cholesterol. They help to lower the blood pressure. They help to lower the blood sugar. We need more of these in our diet, and they are affordable. While the nuts might cost us a bit more, this is Barbados, but the peas and beans and chickpeas, etc., they're affordable. We need to include them more in our diet. The fruits are a food group. They're a source of carbohydrate in the form of sugar. They're a source of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And the brightly colored fruits tend to be richer in vitamins and minerals. And you can have canned or frozen or fresh fruit, whatever is convenient. Dried fruits are also a very good source of energy and fiber. And all fruits make good snacks. All fruits make good snacks. So a mango is a snack, not a meal. Fruit juice can replace one serving of fruit only. We usually encourage people eat the fruit versus drink the juice. Eat the fruit versus drinking the juice. All y'all with juicers, perfect. If you got a juicer, when you juicing, and you getting all the inside of the fruit, all the pith and everything like that, and you can juice that and consume all of that, that's perfect. But when you just drinking the juice, just a plain old juice from the fruit, you're missing out a lot of nutrition, right? But sometimes you overconsume too much sugar. Think about it. You have orange juice and you create a whole glass of orange juice, which might be 2 or 3 oranges you squeeze to get a whole glass of orange juice, right? It's going to be a lot of sugar you're consuming versus eating that orange and eating all the inside and stuff like that. Is really better to consume the fruit than drink the juice. You can have the fruit juices, the 100% fruit juices, but I'm saying from a nutrition standpoint, from a sugar control standpoint, it's always better to eat the fruit versus drink the juice. And this is Barbados. We have to spend. Yes, we get sourshops. Yes, we get bananas. Yes, we get mangoes seasonally. But a lot of the fruit that we have access to is imported. We're not picking it off a tree. So sometimes a high fruit consumption can be expensive for some of us. So just bear that in mind. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't eat fruits, but you gotta figure out, what's more important, your health or your pocket. You need a pocket to keep your health up, but still, we need to make sure that when the day comes, we eat at least 2 servings of fruit. So an apple and orange, a banana, and a half cup of pineapple. We need at least 2 servings of fruit per day, at least 2 servings. The vegetables are another food group. They're sources of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. They're generally low in calories, and they provide bulk in the diet. As with fruits, the deeper or brighter the color, the higher the nutritional value. So when we eat vegetables alongside our main meal, it helps our main meals to digest better. There's so many minerals, there's so many vitamins in the vegetables. We shouldn't only eat vegetables on Sunday, peoples. I am a nutritionist in the clinic. A lot of people tell me, yes, I eat vegetables, but only on a Sunday. No, we should be eating vegetables every day. Half your plate should be vegetables. Even if you don't get half plate and you could only afford a local combo cut up alongside the food, it's better than nothing. All right, so we really need to push and have a variety of vegetables on a daily basis, not just on Sundays. Fats and oils are concentrated sources of energy, and they may contain some saturated fat or more, but oftentimes they contain more unsaturated fat, depending on your source. The saturated fat is the fat that clogs your arteries. The unsaturated fat is the fat that does not clog your arteries. You want to consume more unsaturated fat versus saturated fat. Saturated fat is often found in animal foods. So think about beef, lamb, chicken, etc. Think about when you bake lamb and you put it down and all that sits on top of the pan. All of that is saturated fat that clogs your arteries. An avocado has lots of fat, but lots of unsaturated fat. All right. The exception is like coconut. Coconut is not animal based, but coconut has a lot of saturated fat. Right. So we still have to be mindful about how much coconut and coconut oil and everything we use, but it does have benefits as well. Some natural whole foods, although high in fat, are also sources of fiber and other nutrients, including protein, vitamin E, omega-3, iron, and calcium. So, we have our foods that are high in fats, but they're high in other nutrients as well. And avocado is like a superfood. It has in some of everything. All right. So when you are planning your meals, you should be using all of the Caribbean food groups, the staples, the fats, the fruits, the vegetables, the food from animals, the legumes and nuts. All of these should be included in planning your meals. Yes, Lennox.
Yes, Marianne. So I have some questions coming. I think you would have answered one of the questions because one of our guests said that she's unable to drink milk, to consume nuts and cheese and so on. And I think that you would have indicated that she could get protein from things like nuts and legumes and so on. So I think you would have dealt with that particular question. We also have the question, how much coconut water intake should a person with hypertension have?
I don't have the exact quantity, so I can't tell you drink 3 glasses or 3 coconuts, but if you have hypertension, increasing your potassium intake helps to control your blood pressure. Coconut water is an excellent source of potassium. So regular consumption of coconut water helps to infuse your body with potassium, and it kicks out the sodium, which tends to keep the blood pressure high. So I would encourage you to eat the high potassium foods. So coconut water is a high potassium food. Have it regularly.
Okay. Some of us have the habit of drinking ice cold beverages while eating very hot meals. Does this action in any way affect our bodies?
Not that I know about. I'm sure that there's going to be research out there that says it does. But if you're eating very hot food and you're sipping along a very cold beverage, I don't think that's very good for your system, right? But I can't really speak to what it does, really and truly. I can't speak to that.
Okay. All right. Does drinking too much citrus, especially orange, contribute to eczema?
It can. I have a son with eczema, and there are certain foods that I cannot give him because he's going to break out, right? So you have to know what offsets your eczema and avoid it. So he can handle oranges, but not a lot of oranges. And I realized that, a tangerine or a mandarin, I don't know which one, might affect his skin. So, it depends. But yes, too much citrus can offset your eczema. So you have to be mindful in terms of how you're using your citrus fruits on a daily basis and managing your skin condition.
Okay. We have another question. I had a blood clot in my leg last year. I was asked to take blood thinners, but I was not told what foods to avoid. Should I have been told what foods to avoid?
I cannot remember. I think I can get back to you all about that before the end of the night. Blood thinners and foods, I need to do a double check. Blood thinners and diet.
Okay.
So just put a hold on that. I will answer it in our next round.
Okay, cool. All right, 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let you go on, Marianne. Should we separate the eating of fruit and eating of the other food groups like starches, proteins, etc.?
You know what? the fruit can be eaten with our main foods. There's only we Caribbean people that tend not to include fruits on our plate because it's a sin. But no, fruits can be included with your main meal. For example, I mean, I won't put a mango alongside a plate of rice. But if you have like, your little grapes or something in your salad, that's a fruit that you're having along with your main meal. If you have some slices of pear cut up with some, when I talk about pear, I talk about the fruit pear cut up with some slices of cucumber on your plate along with your main meal, that's okay. So yes, you can have fruit along with your main meal. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay. Thank you. Last question. In this round, what are the best oils for frying and cooking?
I would just say the unsaturated fats, the oils that are liquid at room temperature. There's a lot of information out there, and I am still doing my research because I'm hearing some talks about how canola oil is not the oil to use, etc. It might be safer to use olive oil. It might be safer to use avocado oil. All I would say right now, the oils that are liquid at room temperature are better for frying. There's some oils that can handle a higher heat than others. If I need to fry, which I don't, if I need to fry anything, I will be using a canola oil. I'll be using an olive oil, and those are the two oils I use. But the oils that are used for frying are oils that can handle the heat. It depends on if you're doing light frying or high heat frying, right? So it depends on what type of frying you're doing. But your canola oil can work, your olive oil can work, your avocado oil can work, your sunflower oil can work. But there is some information out there advising about what oils are safe or not so safe to use. There's nothing coming like from the American Heart Association and groups like that, but there's some talk out there saying, look, you can't use every oil. And I do believe that you cannot use every oil. All right. So planning meals using the Caribbean food groups in multi-mixes. In multi-mixes is a specific combination of foods selected from the Caribbean food groups, which helps to ensure nutritious meals and snacks. So like a simple multi-mix is like cheese and biscuit. We have something from the staples group and something from the food from animals group, cheese and biscuits. Or we can have like biscuits and peanut butter. That's something, biscuits from the staple group, and legumes and the peanut butter from the legumes and nuts group. So that is a simple multi-mix, providing our bodies with carbohydrates and proteins, right? But the addition of the various food groups increases the amount of nutrients and fiber you consume. So we have here a tuna sandwich with some lettuce, so that has in some vegetables, some vegetables, so it increases the food groups. There's lettuce and there's some salad and everything on the side. So therefore, there's way more nutrition than having the plain old tuna sandwich. And then I think this is a pancake. Yes, with a little bit cream on top, but there's fruit served alongside the pancake. So you're getting lots of nutrients, lots of fiber. It might be a whole grain pancake. So, the more food groups you include, the more nutrients and fiber you consume, right? So, like this meal has in, you got your vegetables, you got your protein, you got your vegetables, you got your chicken, which is the food from animals, you have your rice, which is the staples food groups, you have your beans or your kidney beans, which is part of the legumes and nuts food groups, and they have a fruit salad on the side. And of course, this meal was prepared with some sort of fat, some sort of oil. So you have all the food groups here represented in this meal. Some people only eat like this on Sundays. We need to be eating like this every day. Find a smart way to eat like this every day. All right. So let's look at now how much is too much. We like enough food. We ain't like eaters in these countries, these Caribbean islands. We like a lot of food. And a portion can be thought of as the amount of a specific food you choose to eat. Your portion is what you put. Your portion is a 3 or 4 pot spoons of rice that you eat alongside your piece of meat, right? That's your portion. Portions can be bigger or smaller than the recommended food servings, right? So what you're served, we have portion distortion, you see a little picture there, what you're served. versus what is one serving of the food. So you might be served burgers, fries, ketchup, etc., which is, 1,345 calories, but actually was one serving of this same meal here is actually 665 calories, half a burger without the bread, etc., etc. A serving describes an amount of food recommended to be eaten at one time. It is the amount of food listed on a nutrition facts panel, or is the amount of food as be determined by whatever body. So a serving, a half cup of rice, a cup of vegetables, that is a serving, a specific amount. A portion is what you put. A serving is like a predetermined amount. So how many servings of vegetables you're having. So if a half cup of vegetables is a serving and you're having 2 cups, you already eaten 4 servings of vegetables, because a half cup is 1 serving, 1 cup is 2 servings, and you calculate from there. So portion distortion is an effect in which you eat more if you are served more, sometimes more than your body needs. And we all have been involved in portion distortion at some point. Some of us are involved in portion distortion every day. The rise of portion distortion in the Western countries stems from supersized convenience foods such as fast food or restaurant meals and packaged foods, all right? So we have to be careful with this portion distortion, especially in the West, especially in the US. When we go to US, that we getting some big drinks and we eating some big meals and some big burgers and big plates of foods, etc., because they serve heavy. Unless you're going to a specific restaurant that's often of another culture where they serve smaller portions, but the typical American portion is a large portion, right? So is this portion distorted? I think it's distorted, but is this portion distorted? So 20 years ago, you might have gotten a smaller plate of pasta. Today, the plate of pasta that's served is a big plate. We like big plates of foods. I don't know if it was 20 years ago in Barbados, because 20 years ago in Barbados, we were eating big plates of foods, or we can go further back. We might say, my grandmother, my grandfather used to eat a big plate of food, etc. But granddad and grandmom walked from St. John to town and back. Granddad and grandmom had animals, and they were out minding the animals and doing this and doing that. So they were burning off a lot of what they consume, and they needed these amounts. But we eat large amounts, and we work in offices and we sit down. We eat large amounts and we sit in front of our computers. So when we do that, that's an issue. How are we burning it off? You understand? Are our plates too big? In 1950s, a 9-inch plate was the standard, but now a 12-inch plate is the standard. How big are your plates at home? The size of your plates sometimes determines the portions that you eat. All right. So we really need to be mindful of the large portions we eat and how this is contributing to our diets. So we need to control our portions and use our hands as a guide. So we use a fist to, if you want to figure out what's 1 cup. And when they say hands, they talk about the female hands, not the male hands. The male hands might be a little bigger, but a cup is like a female fist, right? A teaspoon is like a thumb tip, right? The palm of a hand is like 1 serving or 3 ounces of meat, So do you eat 1 palm of your hand in meat, or do you eat 2? All right. Your thumb tip is a serving of cheese. The inside palm could be a serving, and inside the palm of your hands could be a serving of nuts. You understand? And 2/3 of a plate, could be your vegetables. Another form of portion control. This is the healthy eating plate, where half your plate is fruits or vegetables. A quart of your plate is the starch, and a quart of your plate, the protein, not just any protein, the lean protein, right? This is another way to control your portions. Do you have half your plate vegetables? Does your Sunday plate has half your plate vegetables? The fruit really doesn't come into consideration in our typical Bajan diet, because we don't eat fruits along with our main meals, right? So think about half your plate being vegetables. Is half your plate vegetables, right? So using your hands as a guide. Your fist is a cup of starch. So a cup of rice or a cup of potato is your fist. So you're eating 1 fist, 2 fists, 3 fists, 4 fists. How many fists are you eating? You know, a palm is like as I mentioned before, a 3 to 4 ounce portion of protein. You know, or this is the amount of meat you should be having on your plate. Are you eating more than this? Your 2 handful is like how much you should be eating of your salads. You know, does your salad make up, you know, your 2 hands full? You understand? So these are different ways that you can use your fingertips and your thumbs and different things as portion guides. All right. Again, using your hand as a portion guide. You might not have to do this every day, but you might be starting out to say, you know, what am I really eating? You know, is your cupped hand the amount of starch you put in on your plate? How many cup hands it is? You understand? How many fistful of veggies are you eating? How many palmfuls of protein are you eating? So these are just smart ways to plan your meals. So you should get into the habit of closely monitoring your portions. You want to check your serving sizes and measure out your foods at least until it becomes second nature and you are very aware of serving sizes. Okay, sometimes we might be eating too many servings of a particular food. All right. You want to be able to section your plate. You know, as I mentioned, half plate fruits and vegetables, quarter plate proteins, quarter plate your starches or your grain. So, right. So your yams and your potatoes and your corn should be included on the side of your grains, of your rice, your starches. You know, overseas says grains, but we consider that particular portion your starch. But here in this country, at least I can speak for us, when it comes to us eating our starch, we ain't eating a quarter plate. We eating 3/4 of a plate in starch, at least half plate, right? But remember, all of our starches break down and they turn into sugar, right? All of the rice, all of the potato, all of the sweet potato, all of the yam, all the cassava, all of those things break down and turn into sugar. So we laugh about the niggeritis, you know, that we often sometimes have, you know, oh Lord, I eat that, I fall asleep. We laughing. It's such a joke to us. It's so funny, but it's so unhealthy. Falling asleep after meal. Yes, there are certain foods like turkey and certain foods that will produce that will cause us to be sleepy. Certain foods will cause us to be sleepy, but we should not be sleeping after meal. If you eat a meal, you're nourished. You know, you should be like, yeah, let me run around the track or something because you just put energy into your body. But if when you eat a meal, you're falling asleep, something is wrong. All right. For those of you who have diabetes in your family or are prone to higher blood sugars like me, because I realized in my 20s that when I eat and drink certain things, I was nodding off and dropping asleep and I hated it. I had to change my diet because these things ain't working for me. You understand? So that quarter plate of starch needs to be taken into consideration. Yes, those who are athletes or those who do certain sports or workout or work in certain jobs will need more starch than the average person. But do we need to be eating so much starch? Are we falling asleep after our meals? If we are, we need to check how much we're eating. All right. So this is the plate method. Half the plate vegetables, quarter of the plate your rice, pasta, bread, grains, or starchy vegetables, and a quarter of the plate your protein. Okay, bear that in mind. Bear this in mind. And if you eat like this every day, you get to control your portions and you're likely to provide your body with adequate essential nutrition. All right. Ways you can practice good portion control: use smaller plates for your food. A normal portion of food looks small on a large plate, making you feel underserved. Do a plate check. Look at your plate and ask the following: is half the plate fruits and vegetables? Are the grains whole grains? So is your rice brown rice or white rice? I know we like a lot of white rice here. White rice just produces higher blood sugars. I don't mess around white rice because I can't afford for my blood sugars to be high, right? But are your grains whole grains? What kind of meat did I choose? Is it lean and cooked in a healthy way, or is it fatty and fried? Is it a baked pork chop, or is it pork chop fried? You understand? Do you have fried pork chops every Friday? You know, if you eating them every week, or if you realize that you have these high fat fried foods in your diet every week, you're eating them once a month or once every 3 weeks or whatever, you're having them every week, it's an issue, peoples. You know, a Friday might be your Friday night. But every Friday you got fried chicken, fried fish, fried chips, fried. No, peoples, you don't need to treat your families like that. It's a treat. It's something you don't get very often. I think once a week is often, right? Nothing in wrong with having fried chicken, but it's how often you have it. You understand? So those are the things you need to consider in terms of controlling your portion. So let's do another plate check. Is this plate healthy? It looks tasty. I see some pie on it and some sort of stew meat here, but is it healthy? This plate here doesn't look too bad, but I think it could serve at least 2 people. This one here, where are the vegetables? They got a little parsley garnishing the plate, but where are the vegetables? And remember, listen, plantains provide energy too, right? Plantains are carbohydrate foods. The carbs provide energy. We got rice there. We got plantain here. All right. So sometimes you got to be careful with how you combine certain foods, especially in terms of your blood sugars, right? This one got a good set of meat on it. Starch portion looking a little large. This one definitely is lots and lots and lots of starch. And I sure many of people, food from off the street looks like this, right? So your healthy plate, as I mentioned before, half veg, quarter starch, quarter protein. That is what we should be eating. This one here is closer to a healthier plate. Probably could have a bit more veg on it, but it's closer. All right. So you want to use your plate as a portion guide. Use smaller dinnerware. Use smaller dinnerware. All right. Remember to do the half, quarter. You definitely want to take it slowly. A strategy, if you want to try to reduce the amount you eat, if you drink a glass of water before you have a meal, the glass of water fills up your stomach a bit and you wouldn't eat as much food, eat slowly, chew your food and swallow it. There's nobody running behind you. Chew your food and swallow it, right? It helps the digestion process to occur better. And it helps for you to consume less because you're not shoveling the food quickly into your mouth. And don't eat from the container. So if you're eating Pringles, take out your portion, put back the Pringles and put it up. If you're eating Smarties, take out a portion and, put back up the main bag or box or whatever the Smarties come from. Don't eat straight from the container. If you eat straight from the container, you'll be eating more. All right. Now, the last topic I'm hitting is the beverages. Let's look at what are we drinking, because the beverages tend to put us in trouble, right? And there's been a lot of talk about the sugar sweetened beverages. You see that the Ministry of Education has implemented the new school meals policy. They're trying to get the kids to eat healthier. Barbados is in trouble, people. All right. The chronic diseases kill 8 out of 10 people. All right. So the chronic diseases, like the diabetes, the hypertension, the obesity, the high cholesterol, the heart disease, the cancer, a lot of us dying from these things. And a lot of these chronic diseases come from the food that we eat, are the amounts of food, the types of food that we eat and the amounts of food that we eat. So they're realizing that the children are consuming, one of the easier things to focus on, or one of the most impactful things to focus on would be the sugar sweetened beverages. So they're saying, look, we really need to cut them out of our diet, reduce them significantly. This in these schools, trying to make the parents miserable, trying to make the parents spend money, etc. This is a major effort in making our society healthier. We are in trouble as a country with regards to our health, people. So we got to try to make sure that our generations to come up as healthy as possible. We are in trouble, people. And think about it. The average family here, in my household, I got diabetes, I got hypertension, there's heart disease, there's peripheral artery disease in my household. But how many households are similar to mine? You understand? So a lot of these things are associated with the foods that we eat. All right. So sweetened beverages in the Caribbean are the main source of sugar in our diet. Right? Caribbean children are drinking too many sweet beverages. eating and drinking too much sugar has been linked to overweight and obesity in children. And they claim 1 out of 3 children obese in Barbados and the Caribbean. We have a very high obesity rate here. I think the only country that's higher than us is Trinidad. Trinidad got some issues, but we got some issues too. You understand? Our diabetes rate is high. Our obesity rate is high. Our sweetened beverage consumption is high. So we really do need to watch our sugar intake. So how much should we consume? So the American Heart Association says kids ages 2 to 18 should have less than 6 teaspoons of added sugar daily. When I said 6 teaspoons, I'm talking about the teaspoon, not the tablespoon, the teaspoon, the 5 ml teaspoon, flat, not heaping. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. So your little 3-year-old should be having no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day. But if you give your 3-year-old a little Pine Hill Dairy box juice, they're having at least 8 teaspoons of sugar in a day. All right. And we overconsume sugar from birth. All right. I work in the clinics. I see the mothers. We overconsume, or we give our children too much sugar from birth. The adult men and women, adult men should be having no more than 9 added teaspoons of sugar a day. Women, no more than 6 added teaspoons of sugar a day. I talk about added. The sugar that you're putting in your tea, the sugar in your cereal, the sugar in your drinks, these are the maximums we should be having per day. I'm not talking about you eating an orange and there's sugar in the orange. I'm talking about added sugar. All right. So what is a teaspoon of sugar? A teaspoon of sugar is 4 grams and it makes up 1 teaspoon of sugar. So, 4 grams of sugar is 1 teaspoon. All right. So when you're reading a nutrition label and they have sugars or added sugars and they have the amount of grams there, you can sort of convert it to the number of teaspoons. So teaspoons is an easy way for us to understand how much sugar we are consuming. All right. So 1 12-ounce can of regular soda has at least 10 teaspoons of sugar, of added sugar. All right. So like the can of malt, we like Tiger Malt, and that can of Tiger Malt has approximately 10 teaspoons of added sugar. No, drinking that Tiger Malt, you're getting lots of B vitamin, you're getting some iron, etc., because, of the things that are naturally in the Tiger Malt. But in general, your average 12-ounce can of regular soda has about 10 teaspoons of added sugar. But we drink 16-ounce drinks in this country. So 10 ounce is less than 16 ounces. All right. So we want to make sure that we check the nutrition label. So the nutrition label can tell us the total carbohydrate, but we need to look at the sugars, and with the newer labels, we need to look at the added sugars. We need to look at the added sugars, right? On the newer labels, right? So you will see that this can of cola on the screen here has 38 grams of sugar, and you divide that by 4. This can of cola has about 9.5 teaspoons of sugar. All right. And again, the maximum daily added sugar is 6 teaspoons for women, 9 teaspoons for men. And this says approximately 3 teaspoons for kids, and there's a note that, well, three teaspoons with a maximum of 6 teaspoons for kids. And there should be no sugar for kids below the age of 2. Now, the whose guidelines came up with that? Some entity in America, and we follow those guidelines, came out and said, do not give sugar to children under 2. That's not a good thing. We should not be giving added sugar to children under 2. How many mothers do that? How many fathers do that? How many grandparents do that? I had an 80-pound 4-year-old the other day. 80 pounds, 4 years old, 80 pounds. And her parents and her grandparents loved her and fed her all day, and she can access the little juices in the house on her own. She was 80 pounds at 4 years old, and she was uncomfortable with herself. Okay, so bear that in mind. So you want to make sure that you check your labels. So just, again, this is a newer label. You would see the total carbohydrate, and there's a section for total sugars, but the added sugars is the amount of added sugar that they added to the drink. Okay, so just when we're reading the nutrition labels, 5% is high, 20% is low. So if it's low fat, like this product here, no sort of kind of, the saturated fat is at 5%. If it is low fat, you will be seeing fat around 5% or 4% or 6% or something. If it's high in fat, you can see fat at 18%, 20%, 22%. You can see it up there. So if it's low in a particular item or nutrient, you will see it close to 5%. If it's high, it is 20%. So this particular product has added sugars, and it has 10 grams of added sugars, but in terms of the percentage value, you see that it's 20%. So automatically the product is high in sugar. Okay, so when you go looking at your products, you're looking at the amount of salt, fat, sugar, cholesterol, etc. So if you're looking at the sugar, you don't want anything that's high in sugar. And a lot of the sugary drinks on our market, just go into the market and read the label, you will realize that they're very high in added sugar. Check your ingredient list. You know, you can't see this one here clearly, but when we look at the ingredients, the items that are highest, that are in the product the most, are listed first, right? So if you see for sugar in the first 3 to 5 items, the item is high in sugar. All right. So when you buy a juice drink, you will see usually water is the first ingredient. Oftentimes sugar is the second ingredient. From the time you see sugar is the second ingredient, the product is high in sugar. All right. So you want to check your nutrition labels and try to understand them. 5% is high, 20% is low. You then determine how much is how much there. This particular thing has the ingredient list there at the bottom. There are 3 different forms of sugar in this ingredient list. You got to look for the different forms of sugar as well. So this thing has sugar, it has honey, and it has brown sugar syrup. 3 different types of sugar. So this sugar is not only listed as sugar, there's sugar, there's honey, and there's brown sugar syrup. Honey is sugar too, peoples. Don't fool yourself. When you use the honey, you might get some of the nutritional benefits of honey, but honey is sugar. All right? So check your labels, do the maths. So try to determine how much sugar is in your drink. All right? Remember, 4 grams is 1 teaspoon. So if a juice box has 18 grams of sugar, it has 4.5 teaspoons. If a sports drink has 32 grams of sugar, it has 8 teaspoons. If a chocolate milk has 48 grams of sugar, it has 12 teaspoons of sugar. If a coffee drink has 68 grams of sugar, it has 17 teaspoons. If a soda has 76 grams of sugar, it has 19 teaspoons. And our fruity tends to have about 68 grams of sugar. Our typical fruity is 17 teaspoons of sugar, people. All right? And we too like a fruity, and we like to drink the fruity with a little milk and everything. And, you know, no, people, we can't do that. We cannot do that. Our bodies are in trouble now. All right? So you need to rethink your drink. You know, try not to stock up on sugary drinks. Keep a jug or bottles of cold water in the fridge, cold or cool water, but try not to stock up on sugary drinks. If they're not around within your immediate reach, it's less likely you will choose them. If you're going to have your sugary drink, it's a treat. You know, make it as a treat, but it's not something that you should have within your reach at home. If water just won't do, reach for drinks that contain important nutrients such as low fat or fat-free milk. Some of us are milk drinkers. Or if they have unsweetened or fortified milk alternative, or if the juice is 100% fruit or vegetable first. All right, juice. So remember, we don't want to give children juice. We want to avoid giving children juice. So if you're doing it at 2 years, at least don't give them under 1 year old. All right. Juice after 12 months old is not necessary. Below 4 ounces or less a day of juice can be provided, but it's not necessary. All right. It is not necessary. The recommendation now is children under 2, no juice. When you at the coffee shop, to me, going to the coffee shop is a treat, but you know, the flavored syrups and whipped cream and stuff like that, that's extra sugar. All right. You can add some low fat milk or unsweetened milk alternatives such as soy or almond, or get back to basics with your black coffee. All right. Read the nutrition facts label to assist in you choosing drinks that are low in sugar, low in calories, low in fat. Right. And if you're on the go, carry a reusable water bottle with you and refill it throughout the day. I carry a water bottle with me and I drink it throughout the day, and I make sure that myself and my children get adequate amounts of water. Choose water, tap or unsweetened, bottle or sparkling over sugary drinks. If you need more flavor, add berries or slices of lime, lemon, or cucumber to the water. Add what you want to the water. You understand? Flavor your water naturally. And, you know, you would end up drinking your water. I don't like the pipe water that comes out. I have a Brita filter. and I filter my water for me to drink, right? I can't really drink the pipe water. So if it is that you don't like the taste of pipe water, you can buy whatever filter you choose, filter out the water and drink the water. If you need your fizzy drink, you can add a splash of juice to plain sparkling water for our refreshing low-calorie drink. You might have a little juice, but you could just flavor your little soda water with the juice. You don't have to have the whole juice, but you still having a flavored drink. All right. So just want to bring to your attention the other names for added sugar. According to the FDA, added sugars include sugars that are added during the processing of foods, such as sucrose or dextrose, foods packaged as sweeteners, such as table sugars, sugars from syrups and honey, and sugars from concentrated fruit or vegetable juices. Added sugars do not include naturally occurring sugars that are naturally found in milk, fruits, and vegetables. So these are sugars that you add to the drink. So if these appear in the ingredients list of your favorite beverage, you're drinking a sugar sweetened beverage. So if it has in canned juice, yeah, canned juice, natural, but it's still full of sugar, it is sugar sweetened. Corn syrup for sure, right? I know we have the high fructose corn syrup. I try to avoid stuff with high fructose corn syrup. So for example, there are some pancake syrups that have high fructose corn syrup. I don't choose it. Dextrose is sugar. Fructose is sugar. Fruit nectars, such as agave nectar, is sugar. Glucose, of course, is sugar. Why do we buy glucose water for the children again? For the babies? I don't know. High fructose corn syrup, sugar. Honey, sugar. Malt syrup, maple syrup, and syrup, molasses, although molasses is very nutritious. Raw sugar, sucrose, sugar cane. All of these are different names for sugar. All right. So you want to make every sip count. All right. You want to know the size of your drink. You want to read the label on a drink. You know, you want to make every sip count. You really need to think about what you're putting down your mouth if you're drinking down all of your calories. Remember, flavor it up. I love the plain soda water. You can flavor your soda water how you want, or something that I recently stumbled upon in the supermarket. You have your cold infused little tea bags by Twinings, and I find these flavors very nice. So I put these in my big bottle of water. I think my 4 cup of water. I drop one of these small tea bags in, and they have my blueberry flavored water, my watermelon, whatever flavored water. I like the taste of my water when I flavor my water with this, and there's not any sugar in it. So that works for me. All right. So just highlighting the amount of sugar in our common drinks, as I mentioned before, our fruity is about 68 grams of sugar, 17 teaspoons, and the smaller fruity is about 12 teaspoons of sugar. I believe that these smaller fruities were created so we could put them in the children's lunch boxes. Please do not do that. We've moved away from our BBC ginger ale, and it's not being replaced with the Schweppes ginger ale, but this is the same as the BBC ginger ale, although this tastes a little different to me. It has about 8 teaspoons of sugar, which is approximately 24 grams of sugar. Our Coke has about 53 grams of sugar, which is 13.25 teaspoons of sugar. I know that people love Coke, and Coke has caffeine. A woman tell me she don't wake up good until she drinks a Coke. She don't belch properly until she drinks a Coke. All the Coke things, and she was plus size talking to me about the values and the benefits of Coke. Coke has the right formula. It is a refreshing drink, and it gives us a boost with the sugar and the caffeine, and we get all sorts of feelings, you know, when we drink a Coke. You know, we could associate Coke with Christmas and Coke with this, Coke with that. We get zero nutrition from drinking Coke. This does harm to our body, and we can clean with it too. Not the best drink to drink. We have the no sugar Cokes are on the market. So for me, I am cool with the no sugar Cokes because I have a lot of obese and diabetic people I see on a regular basis. So they want to drink the Coke, and they want the Coke as part of their diet. So whether you drink a no sugar Coke or sugar Coke, none of them is offering your body any sort of nutrition. But the advantage of the no sugar Coke is that it's no sugar. It is no sugar, so therefore it will not raise your blood sugars as high as a 13 teaspoon Coke would, regular Coke would. But is it healthy? No. We don't get any nutrition from drinking either the sugar or the no sugar Coke, but it's the no sugar Coke wins because you don't have the effect of the sugar. So if you're diabetic and you have a no sugar Coke because you like Coke, and the no sugar Coke is not raising your blood sugars, you would have won. So from that's how I endorse this from a nutrition perspective. But do I use this? Do I buy it in my household? No. Your Caribbean cool juices, juice drinks, because this is a juice drink. Remember, a juice is you take an orange and you squeeze it out, that's orange juice. But orange juice drink has water, sugar, and some sort of real orange juice concentrate somewhere in the mix. All right. So this Caribbean cool is a juice drink. It has 60 grams of sugar, which is approximately 15 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, so we can say, all right, I ain't drinking a Coke, I ain't drinking a Sprite, I'm drinking Caribbean cool. But do you need 15 teaspoons of sugar? Do you need it to have it along with your lunch? All right. The Sprites now have me a little confused. The Sprites, our typical Sprite that I'm accustomed to, has about 13.25 teaspoons of sugar. If you see the Sprite with the 53 grams, but the Sprite I've seen recently has about 24 grams of sugar. It has 24 grams of sugar because they put sugar substitute in it to keep up the sweetness taste, but it's not as high in sugar. Sprite did not announce this change, right? But it has approximately 60 teaspoons of sugar, and they've put in the sugar substitute to keep the sweetness. Although the other day I saw a Sprite with 51 grams of sugar. So we have Sprites from different sources here. Some are being made in Barbados, and I believe Sprites are being imported. So we have a mixture of Sprite, but I believe the typical Sprite that we've been getting has about 6 teaspoons of sugar with the sugar substitute added to keep up the flavor. But this is not what we were getting for our lifetime, because really and truly the Sprites that we usually get for years and years was a 13 teaspoon Sprite. Right, then we have our Sprite Zero. So Sprite Zero means zero sugar. It has in the alternative sweetener. How safe is the sweetener? Right, so studies have been done and shows that the sweeteners in small quantities, which we tend to consume them in small quantities, are okay. But how do they benefit our health? I saw an article today that said to avoid these sweeteners coming from the World Health Organization. They're saying, we really don't advise you to drink these sweeteners. I mean, you could drink them, but how safe are they? So we gotta be careful here with these sweeteners. I tend not to buy Sprite Zero. Did I buy Sprite Zero for my diabetic relative to drink? Yes, because my diabetic relative like drinking sweet drinks. So I supported that by buying a Sprite Zero for my older diabetic relative who enjoy the Sprite Zero. But do I want to drink a Sprite Zero myself? No. I personally tend to avoid these sweeteners. I'd rather go low sugar than use a sugar substitute. That is my preference. So it depends on what your preference is. And these studies right now are telling us that, these sugar substitutes we've been using are not great. We have to be mindful about the fruiters. Fruiters having about 10 to 17 teaspoons of sugar, 40 to 68 grams of sugar. Some of their juices are 100% juice. They do not have any added sugar. They're 100% juice. Even if you're having 100% juice, I would say dilute. Add half water in a drink, half cup of juice, half cup of water. Drink your drink like that. All right. Our Pine Hill Dairy juice boxes having about 8 to 10 teaspoons of sugar. The Pine Hill Dairy Fruit Punch has about 10 teaspoons of sugar. You see 40 grams on the juice box. That is equivalent to 10 teaspoons of sugar. Is it healthy? No, right? We do have the Pine Hill Dairy juices without added sugar. Some of the apple juices, etc., have no added sugar, but I would still recommend you dilute that. Half juice, half water. If you buy the carton, half juice, half water. I used to buy juices for my children. The older I got and the more information I got, being in the clinic, seeing the patients, etc., I've moved my children off of juices now. Yes, they can have a juice when they go out, but do I buy juices to keep in the fridge at home? No. All right. The vanilla milk. People love to have their vanilla milk as a drink. Many people come to clinic. I hear about vanilla milk as in corn flakes. So you have vanilla milk and frosted flakes combined, and people eat that. So milk has its advantages. It has the calcium, it has the protein. It does our body good. but the vanilla milk has added sugar, approximately 7 teaspoons of added sugar. All right. So for people who would rather use the vanilla milk, I say, look, do half plain milk. Like you can buy half 2% milk. When you got to have your glass of milk, half plain milk, half vanilla milk. You can do the same in the cereal too. Try to cut back on the amount of vanilla milk that you are using. Do I buy it? No, definitely not. But people use this. People like the taste of it, but it's added sugar. So yes, you're getting the benefit of the other nutritional benefits of the milk, the calcium, the protein, and the other nutritional benefits. So in a way, if I had to choose between a glass of milk and a glass of fruity, of course I choose in the glass of milk, right? But just be mindful of the amount of added sugar in the milk. All right. So coming down now, just to the end, include all food from the 6 food groups. So your food from animals, your staples, your legumes and nuts, your fruits, your vegetables, your fats and oils. Include foods from all the 6 food groups. When you do that, you get all your nutrients, all your carbohydrates, all your proteins, all your vitamins and minerals. Make nutritious choices. Do you need to buy hot dogs and lunch meat? Do you need to buy hot dogs and lunch meat? Can you eat tuna? Can you eat sardine? You know, it's hurricane season. Do you have all the lunch meat in the cupboard because it's hurricane season? There's nothing else in the can that you can buy. Watch your portions. It's easy to overeat. Reevaluate your plate. And do you fall asleep after you polish off your meal? What are you drinking? Is your drink full of sugar? You know, how much of these sugary drinks are you drinking? Ask yourself those questions. Choose healthy food, peoples, and prolong your life for as long as you can. And that's my presentation.
Wow, this was an amazing presentation, Marianne. Thank you so much for all that you imparted to us tonight. I just have 3 questions just before I give you maybe a final word to us, and then we wrap up. One question is, do things like milk, dairy products, white flour, crystallized sugar, white rice, cause mucus levels to increase and inflammation in our bodies?
The sugar for sure increases the inflammation, and the dairy products, yes, do increase inflammation in your body for sure.
Okay. Second question, what is intermittent fasting? Is it a practice you would recommend?
Intermittent fasting is fasting and eating at intervals. So some people decide, okay, it's 6 p.m. I can stop eating at 6 p.m. and I can start back eating at 6 a.m. when I sleep and get up in the morning. So that's a 12-hour fast, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So intermittent fasting people have found that it works for them in terms of weight control. Some people have gotten better blood sugar control, etc. So yes, it can work, but you got to be smart about it, you know. So if you're comfortable, you know, cutting off your eating at 6 o'clock and that works for you, I would say go right ahead. I would say don't jump into intermittent fasting quickly. Maybe you want to cut off at 8 o'clock or whatever time, and then cut back until you can control. If you're diabetic though, the intermittent fasting might be a little ticklish, might not be recommended because you might be messing with your blood sugars too much, right? It depends on if you are a controlled or uncontrolled diabetic. So yes, I would recommend intermittent fasting because I've read a lot of positive things about it and it can work for you. But you just need to do the research and plan your meals accordingly and eat within that specific time. Nourish your body. Don't do the fasting and you end up cutting out a lot of food, or as soon as the fast is finished, you overeat because you were hungry for so long. You understand? So you got to be smart about it.
Okay. Thank you. Our last question. Do you think the chemicals that are used to spray the grass, insects, and so on around our homes help to contribute to some of these health issues we are having in our nation, and that we use to spray crops and so on?
Yeah. I don't know what chemicals we use, but I know especially in the US, they have that particular large companies, the large company beginning with I think M, that has made all of these chemicals to put in, you know, control your weeds and stuff like that, and people have developed cancer from either they spraying the products, they're spraying the grass and the vegetables with the chemicals, or because they've eaten the vegetables sprayed with these chemicals. So yes, the chemicals in food do affect our health. I mean, at least we are in Barbados, we bring in a lot of imported food, mind you, so we don't always know the source of our food. So we do have to be mindful of the amount of chemicals that are potentially in food. And we have to learn ways to clean some of our fruits and vegetables before we use them, to help to wash off some of whatever residue they might have come across in the ground.
Okay. Well, we have a number of comments, Marianne, in the chat. Folks are saying it was a great presentation. They found it very interesting, very informative, and so on. And I concur. I think this was a great presentation, an excellent start to our family life series. And I trust that, that all of us have some very good takeaways as we think about for better or for worse, that we are ensuring that we are doing this for better. All right. So thank you so much, Marianne. This was a really great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure.
You are welcome. Right. And we're going to be inviting you to join us again next week. Next week, we're going to be having a split session. We're having a session for couples on love languages. That's going to be a very interesting session. And then we have a session where we focus on singles. And we are going to be asking persons to submit questions. We have a panel discussion, and we're going to be asking you to submit questions, the questions you always wanted to ask about singlehood. We want you to send those questions so that our panel can take a look at those questions and share some information with you. As we go through our family life series, we are going to be looking at things like mental health. We're going to put that under the microscope. We're going to be doing a number of things. We're going to be looking at the elderly and care of the elderly. We're going to be ending all of this with a family fun night. So we want you to stay with us throughout this series. Thank you for joining us this evening. And on behalf of the chairman of our General Assembly, the Reverend Vasco Perry, and on behalf of the planning committee for the Family Life series, I want to thank you for joining us, and I bid you a good night. Let's see you next week.